Welcome back, everyone, to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BETSPERTS. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christenson, and you heard of Toucan Sam, but today we have Toucan Andy. Mr. Molitor, how are we doing, and where did you find such a wonderful shirt?
I think so. I feel like there's a picture of me somewhere on Twitter wearing this shirt. I feel like I bought it before I went to a vacation, like Turks and Caicos. Maybe I took it down there because it just felt like, oh, this is like I could get away with this at beaches or Sandals or where the hell we were staying. You can wear whatever you want on vacation. Fuck it, you're not going to see those people again. So yeah, no, this is a vacation shirt. I'm going on vacation next week.
I
I'm
like
just
it.
getting prepped, and yeah, I saw it. It's a nice day out. County fair in town this week too. I might even go hit the Tilt-A-Whirl before I head out for the week. Yeah,
Love the county fair.
it's been a trying week, especially on the Olympic front. The U.S. is kind of scuffling along, which whatever. Well, a lot of Olympiad left. It's been weird trying to figure out this golf tournament. Although I did say this earlier in the week, and by that I mean yesterday. I said probably no approaching the green. I canceled it. Preemptively just said no, it ain't happening because I don't think we're gonna have anything going on. But then DraftKings, a couple other places kind of came through. Like there's a bunch of a lot of everyone has outrights for this. A lot of places have two medal. Some places have top five, top 10. It's a smaller field, but approaching the green is back on. Not only did a couple places come through with a bunch of markets, I found it really quickly on the Nintendo. So I mean, we're a go. I'm gonna be golfing tonight, taking on. Oh God, I almost got to switch back. I wrote this out phonetically for myself. Kasumi Gaseki Country Club East Course, kind of in the outskirts of Tokyo. It's about an hour from downtown Tokyo, out in the burbs, not too dissimilar from every other golf. Like, oh, there's 3M Open in Minneapolis. No, it's in Blaine. Blaine's like a half hour from anything. Like this is out in the boony suburbs. So similar to that, I'll go over that tonight. And yeah, a lot of sports going on. We're getting to that point where you can sit down like at the end of your day and watch swimming every night. I've complained about the coverage, but that's been nice to watch the swimming. Another good couple races last night. We've got the 4x2 tonight. I know some people that personally got some really nice closing line value on that. A couple other races. So excited for swimming every night, and then eventually we'll get to some track and field next week. It's been fun having this back for sure. Like, how
Yeah,
much of this tennis have you watched, Alex?
a decent chunk. I've been kind of getting up and doing replays, honestly, in the morning. I've been lucky enough to kind of catch a match real early when I get up. But it's been nice. I think, it's once you kind of figure out what's going on, and the apps have finally gotten a little bit better when they list things that are live. There now seems to actually be live. So that stuff has kind of smoothed itself out a little bit. And it has been nice to go back, watch all the replays and stuff. Like you said, having the races on at night, getting to watch gymnastics the other night was fun, all that stuff. So it's getting to be a little bit better. I think, again, that the app seems to be listing things correctly. And maybe I'm just used to it now. Maybe my expectations are low enough.
And yeah, there's always cool moments at the Olympics. We had a super old guy win a medal in horse dancing, which was Dan was making fun of horse dancing this morning. So maybe this shouldn't be a sport. Team
Mhm.
dressage. I did not watch any of the equestrian yet, but he brought up in the chat here the Lydia Jacoby win. Like she wasn't favored by any means. She was a top swimmer, but she wasn't favored to win that. And seeing her whole family go nuts, her watch party, God, and honestly, of all the people to say something kind of poignant, I believe it was like Dave Portnoy pointed this out after that went viral, that watch party getting so excited. He's like, maybe the best part of this Olympics is that people can't go or something along those lines. Because you are seeing some cool moments from people back home watching them, live on TV, doing watch parties. It's almost like draft watch parties and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, I was just about to bring this up. Patrick beat me to it. The Australian swim coach who was listening some death metal in his head and just freaking out, like him, after that
He's
win
probably the
on
most
road
memorable
coach.
part of this Olympics. You look throughout history, I bet we'll be using that as a GIF, as a meme forever. Well, I guess for as long as we have GIFs or memes. But he's going to be arguably the most memorable part of this Olympics.
Yeah, so far that guy, and they're not done. There's quite a few. There's quite a few swim meets left here. Swim meets, swim matches, swim races. heats, medals.
Yeah,
Australia still got some.
People.
Yeah. And then, Titmus and Ledecky go back at it tonight for another one. And we're going to get to some of the longer swim, again, races, I guess I'm going to call it. Some of the longer races, events. Ledecky's going to do better in those. She's quite the distance swimmer. So let's start with some Olympic update. Drew was on last week. We talked about some of the bets we made. It's not going terrible, but it's not going great. It's looking close to like the way things are going to hash out. It's going to be like a break even, and things are going to hinge on Japan. South Korea is not getting there. They just didn't get it done in some of the ones they had to get it done in. Australia only has 3. They need 13 to win. While that seems like it's got a long ways to go, that's actually in decent shape. They're going to get a few more in the pool. They're going to get a few sailing. Maybe cycling. They have a couple other spots where they can definitely make up some ground. Russia, they took one this morning. They're going to take more. That's actually in pretty good shape too. Russia should end up with 18, 19, 20, maybe even. Japan is absolutely jobbing us with these judo, a couple other things that are judged. We're seeing the hometown thing. This is going to be so close. They're going to end up in that 25 to 28 range, hopefully on the right side of 27 for me, because that was the one I took a couple swings at. I need them to calm down in judo. I need their speed walker to get fouled out. You can get fouled out of speed walking. Like there's some, and the thing is, we always knew Japan was going to get out to an early, we're 4 days in and they have 10. A lot of the events they're going to excel in were early on: softball, judo, some of the other martial arts that they're decent at. And I mean, even surfing, they kind of surprised. Luckily, we got away with it a little on that. So that one can still win. I think it still will win, but it's going to be tight. And then the USA is probably dead. Like it just one or two surprise medals means so much more to these lower totals. The USA needing even, the people who paid some juice for like 43 or 44, like that probably can get there. But I played over 46.5 at like 2-1. It's going to take a pretty good showing for the rest of the swim meet, a really good showing from a couple of teams who haven't looked great so far. Like we're going to need the basketball team to get their shit in the get. We're going to need like the baseball team's going to have to win. We're going to need an absolute monster track meet. We're going to need some wrestlers. We're going to need just a little of everything. I think there's still some more fencing. We're going to have to win some canoeing, some kayaking, all kinds of stuff. So the USA one probably dead, although there is some opportunities, and I'm never going to sit here and tell you to lay 600, but there were markets pre-tournament, pre-Olympiad for the USA to be the most golds. And it was anywhere from minus 1,500 to minus 2,000. That's down to like minus 500, minus 600 at some places. We're still going to have the most golds. Like we're still going to overtake China and Japan for most golds. We just, our track and field is going to take care of that. So I think it's a pretty safe bet. I'm not, maybe throw that in a parlay if you want to get weird with it, but that price has come down quite a bit after we fumbled the bag a little. And, Simone Biles had some, the stress of being the poster child of the Olympics got to her a little, and she had to sit one out. Didn't hurt my Russia bet. Russia took that one. So, one hand feeds the other.
Yeah.
And the U.S. will still get some more medals in gymnastics, actually, so will Russia. So hopefully we can keep this going, and Japan needs to stop being so good at judo. Otherwise, we'll probably update this early next week to see where we're at. But those were my 5 bets. I do have some action. I need the British to win the 4x200 tonight. Shout out to OG of Twitter, Money Mark Mills. Swimming. He actually did some college swimming too, I believe. So he knows a lot about swimming. He taught me about taper. We're going to be sweating that one tonight, and I'll probably add some other ones just because I like to bet on all these swim meets for a few bucks here and there. What's the tennis schedule like?
I did find those events we talked about. They are happening, but they're hidden under Challenger. Unfortunately, the lines are kind of wacky. It's a lot of low-ranked players playing some middle-ranked players, and they're all huge favorites. So skipped over that, but we do have some Olympic tennis. Our 3 outrights yesterday, Andy, 2 got through. Zachary wins the first set, unfortunately can't hold on. But we've got Pavlyuchenkova in the quarterfinals. She's right around minus 165, minus 170 match. And Elena Rybakina.
And
Osaka
lost.
Osaka did lose.
She didn't look like she wanted to be there all that bad. I watched part of that. When one of the favorites loses and 2 of your outrights continue to move on, that just makes them even sweeter, especially for somebody like me who bet Japan unders. Osaka, although it's a bigger tournament and it's tougher, like Matsuyama in golf and Osaka in tennis were ones that were like, there's a half decent probability I have to sweat these. So her being out helps. The men really don't have a threat in men's tennis to win the tournament. So that helps me from that standpoint and our outright. So yeah, look at us. What are we in the quarterfinals now?
Yeah, we're in the quarterfinals. We've got Pavs up there in the first quarter. She's a small favorite, reasonable favorite. I don't know, minus 165. I don't know what you would call that.
Middle of the road.
And then Rybakina is an underdog, plus 150 against Muguruza. It looks like we'll hopefully get one of those into the semifinals. If we get both of them into the semifinals, we're guaranteed a finalist because we've got a Q1 and a Q2. And that was the reason I was kind of bummed about Zachary. Osaka losing was all part of the plan. She was right there to take the third quarter. Osaka's out of the fourth. Swiatek's out of the fourth. It just really opened up for her. But what are we going to do? I feel pretty good. I think hopefully we'll get one of those women into the finals. That'd be nice.
Oh, yeah.
But we do have some single matches.
When did these matches get played? Like, I'm very confused. And when I looked at,
let me just double check
golf,
what the time is.
I looked at golf. Golf starts at like 5:30 Central on a Wednesday night. So I feel like tennis is going to be at a weird end. It's like the Asian swing though. It's just middle of the night stuff, right?
Well, they've been starting tennis around 10 p.m. Eastern, which I think is like 11 in the morning there. So 10 p.m. Eastern time. That'll be the first match there. Svitolina. She's still listed as Svitolina, even though she's married to Mr. Monfils, and I keep making jokes about that. But she's got her name listed as Monfils, but she's listed everywhere in books and stuff as Svitolina. Minus 140. She's playing some really nice tennis on these slower hard courts against Camilla Giorgi. Giorgi, a very good player. There's definitely some scenarios in which we lose this. Giorgi is someone that has a lot of power and is capable of doing what's called redlining. And really what that is, it's a concept in tennis where you've got a player for a short period of time reaching a high level where all those shots they're hitting, the low margin shots they're getting, and they're painting the line instead of missing, just barely. Their power's getting through. They're getting the ball over the net instead of into the net. And although there's some concerns about that, Svitolina has the defense to get through those particular periods. I'm not too worried about that. So at minus 140, I like this out to minus 150. And then Paula Badosa, the Spaniard, she is up against Marketa Vondrousova, who comes off that win against Naomi Osaka, and I think maybe get a little too much credit here from the market. I have this match closer to minus 165, almost minus 170, so minus 140 again would play this one out to minus 155. Vondrousova, a very solid player. She's left-handed, which can give people a little bit of trouble. Badosa, I don't think will have any issues from that perspective. And again, as you mentioned, Osaka didn't look totally engaged and locked in for that match, so I'm not really giving Vondrousova as much credit as I think the market is here.
Yeah, I wanted to argue with Twitter a little, but I didn't really want to get into it with anybody. Like, every tweet was not giving Vondrousova any credit whatsoever. It's just like, Osaka's out. Oh, she, the top seed and all this is upset. And then in a bottom note, it's like Marketa Vondrousova was the winner of the match. Like it was like a secondary note to what happened. But to be fair, I mean, she had to play decent tennis to win. You can't play shitty tennis and beat Osaka, even if she's off her game. But Osaka was off her game, so I fully agree with your bet there. And I do think you can't give her complete credit for that win, as it was playing someone who was clearly off their game, especially that first set. That was really something. She had to serve to stay in the match in the second set, was broken to lose the match. I mean, that's just not stuff that Osaka does when she's playing well.
No, and that's what we learn. Obviously, as bettors, you got to go back and put context around a lot of this stuff because people just sort of pull the result and keep going. So make sure you go back and just kind of double check and see what's going on.
Oh yeah. Traditionally, this is the day where I play some top 20s, and I thought I wasn't going to get really as deep into this because it's a weird field. It's not 150 some golfers like you see at a full field. It's not even the 120 you see it like an invitational, or we're going to see some weird fields coming up. Maybe this is good prep. We're about to get into the FedEx playoffs where there's going to be fewer and fewer men playing every week, and things will get a little different. You have to view numbers quite differently, but I did play some top 20s. There are some guys I don't bet on a ton, but this is not a field, you see these. Maybe you look at like a top American market for a normal tournament that's stateside, and there's like 60 guys in it. We can only send 4 Americans. They can only send 4 British, or English golfers. There's not this huge, chunk of top end players. You can only send so many from each country, including, some of the top golf countries, the U.S., England. You got Australia, a few of them like that. So these guys are good golfers. They're tour players. Well, not Scott Vincent, but they're tour players who can play well. I ran some quick models on this and just kind of did average finishing place. There's some dead golfers in this. There's some guys that made it in here that I don't rate that highly. I don't think have a shooting chance of playing well. So I did weight my top 20 model a little differently this week, and Siwoo Kim again, another Korean down there. I'm not playing him to win for sure. Out of the two that they got to win so they don't have to be in the military. Like I still like it's like every week we have there's this they got to win. This is a must-win game. It's a can't-lose game, and then they lose. And, oh, weird. Like the other team didn't get the memo that they were supposed to let them win. So nobody's going to roll over and let these guys get medals. But I do have Siwoo Kim rated higher than this. His average finishing position right around 20. I'm getting plus 140 on that. So I'm going to take that at plus 140. Mito Pereira, I think he's the only guy in these 4 who played this last weekend in Minnesota. The other guys didn't have to travel from Minnesota. He played well in Barbasol and 3M. He top 5, top 6, 5th and 6th place. He's playing well right now. I actually watched this guy for a couple holes. Kind of fell in love with him. I like his game. He looked good. He's been playing well. A couple of my DFS buddies have been playing the shit out of this guy, and honestly, we're rewarded with anything they did with Barbasol and 3M because he clearly outplayed his salary in them. But he's almost 2-1 for top 20. Antoine Rosno, I think I'm going to have to give it a little softer touch than that if he's going to be a Frenchman like that. But similar price, top 20, almost 2-1. I have him right in the low 20s for average, mean finishing position. So I'm more than happy to take that. Then Scott Vincent is the golf slack I talk about that I spend too much time chatting with. Golf slack special. This guy is probably not going to win. He was 300 to 1. He's not a tour player. I think the last time he played
good start.
The PGA Tour. And also go Google him. He's just this blonde kid. He's got a beard now, but he's playing for the country of Zimbabwe because that's where he was born and raised. So I'm betting a Zimbabwean, if that's the correct term, golfer to top 20 at 5-1. Scott Vincent, the case that was made, again, I'm going to give I can't even take full credit or any credit for this. Case was kind of made in the Slack chat. He plays on the Japanese tour. He plays on the Asian tour. He's been over there. He certainly has some familiarity with the area. When we talked with Drew about swimming and other events, we talked about the circadian rhythm thing. Poor Patrick Reed, which I can't feel too bad for a guy for getting to represent his country in the Olympics, but he was not prepared to go. So he had to delay his flight from Minneapolis to make sure he had the testing and everything taken care of. Like he's just getting to Japan for a golf tournament that starts tomorrow afternoon. He might not even get a practice round in. So a little bit of a bump for a guy playing over there. And he is a decent putter. The rest of these guys are just, the Andy back shitty putters. And these are huge greens. And I think they're going to be easy to putt on for everyone. So the rest of these guys kind of lower end putters that I'm going to back. But Scotty Vincent, decent off the tee, decent putter. I don't have a lot of stats to work with. I did look at some of his Japanese golf finishes, and I think that's what we're going to take from that. But 5-1 to top 20. I hit about a 5-1 last week with Pat Perez, so I'm going to go back to the well and try to find a long shot. And like I said, Approaching the Green is on tonight. We will have a bunch of golf bets for the Olympics. And then tomorrow, I'll see if I did. There are already round one bets, so I will have some round one bets tomorrow.
I love it. I'm excited. It's good that we got golf in.
Tomorrow night golf starts. Thursday night, the draft starts. I'm guessing 7-ish or so.
8:30 Eastern, so 7:30 for you.
Okay.
Because I know you're very centralistic.
Continuing to add to our portfolio, as the kids call it.
Little bits here and there. Again, each day we start to see some more lines open up. And then at the end here, you'll see we kind of have our first shot to kind of lock in some profit, or at least kind of risk-free a wager, if you will. But we'll start with the two just kind of straight bets here. Sharif Cooper over 20.5. There's a couple drafts where he's not listed. No, I'm sorry. He's in the first round just about everywhere. I thought there was two he wasn't. Those are two I actually pulled out. But the highest pick that I have him right now is 22. Most people have him locked in at 23 or 26. So over 20.5 is a nice margin there, like Sharif Cooper over. Joshua Primo, might be Josh Primo. Make sure. It's a little confusing. Some of these names people spell different ways. But Mr. Primo here, over 25.5. As I start to look again at some mocks, he's falling out of the first round. The lowest place that has him right now is 26. His average in drafts that he's actually listed is 27, 28 almost. So 25.5 looking pretty good. Again, he's starting to fall out of the first round. And I know you like a superfecta, Andy. These are finally starting to open a few places. And this is the first one I put in. It's going to be Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, and Scotty Barnes as our first four picks. And really what this is, honestly, is a bet on Barnes to be the fourth pick. There's some whispers that have turned into light chatter at this point, kind of getting some stronger signal that there's a good chance that Barnes gets scooped here at number 4. So at 8-1, this is kind of a bet mostly on Barnes here. These first three picks seem to really be cementing, unless something absolutely outrageous happens and somebody kind of trades into the first or second pick, which, again, as I start to read more reporting and things start to solidify here, seems less and less likely to happen. It looks like it's going to be Cunningham, Green, and Mobley. So the fourth pick that I like here, Barnes, 8-1. We'll grab that. That is starting to pop up. That's at some offshores. That's at some locals. But I would play that probably down to 6-1. 8-1 is the number I got earlier today. And then we have our first middle, Andy. So we talked about, I think this is probably one I gave out last week, Franz Wagner under 10. That number is starting to tick down. It's 9 a bunch of places, but there's a few places where you can play over 8.5. And if you can get over 8.5, I think this is a great middle. As I start to look at Wagner, he's really solidifying here around the 9th pick. It looks like he is kind of locked in there for the Sacramento Kings, assuming they don't trade out or anything like that. I'm taking a swing here on him to be exactly 9. 8.5 at standard juice. I think we've got under 10 right around standard juice. Basically puts us in a position where if he goes 9th, we win both. If he goes 10th, we win one, push one. If he goes 11th, we go 1-1. If he goes before pick 8, or if he goes 8 or earlier, which really seems unlikely, we go 1-1.
7 or 8. 7 or 8 seemed a little more likely earlier in the week. Right now, it is solidifying more in that 9-10 range.
Yeah. So again, only if you bet Wagner here under 10, grab the over 8.5. I mean, if you have over 8.5 and plus money, that that's not the worst bet in the world. But I'm only playing this again as a middle. So our first chance here to kind of de-risk a position and have a chance to double up, like in this, we'll be cheering for Franz Wagner as the 9th pick, Andy.
To the Kongs. To the Kongs, yes. More stuff tomorrow. Thursday, I'm going to put a couple superfectas together for Thursday just because I've just been betting everything everyone else has been telling me. Like, I have a pretty heavy portfolio of stuff, of players I barely know. So I do know a couple of these guys. I watch a little college basketball here and there, but yeah, we'll get to that Thursday. Frank ditched us last week to fly to LA and then never even flew to LA because the airline.
Did he never make it out of the airport?
No, he just went home. The airline just screwed up. He just said, fuck it, went home. So we will have a baseball Friday with Frank. More draft stuff on Thursday, golf stuff tomorrow, special soccer guest on Thursday doing some Gold Cup previews. So decent end of the week, and decent. You can get yourself a Yeti if you are in one of the states who allows it. The links are available in numerous places all over the Twitternet and on the BETSPERTS app. Find yourself the link, get yourself signed up, get a $500 risk-free bet, send it over to us, and I'll send your ass a Yeti, and it'll be very exciting for all. I can speak to the quality. My coffee is still hot. It's like 11 in the morning, although I do make sure to keep the top thing closed. And with that, let's regroup. Let's put our heads down, get ready for tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow. Good luck with everything you do.